Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Inside Magazine, our monthly appointment here at Inside Scouting, where we talk with people from the basketball world, players, executives, GMs, and scouts to understand their opinion and their knowledge on several topics which are extremely important today in the college basketball world. For what we do also as a website, we focus, of course, on the college basketball world. And I'm very happy today because we have the opportunity to have here with us as a guest Marco De Benedetto, who is a scout and consultant for Germani Brescia in Italy. But he has been working as a scout for the majority of his career and as a consultant. So I'm very happy to have Marco here. Marco, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks to you, Orazio, and thanks to everybody. Very happy to be here with this project of Inside Scouting.
Thank you, Marco. So as you guys probably have started to understand in the last few months, we always try to have one conversation per month with a person from the basketball world, either a player, a coach, scout, GM, to feel their pulse on the current situation in the college basketball world, but also to also chat about their experience in the basketball world, especially here in Europe. So to start the conversation with Marco, I wanted to start exactly from your experience as a scout, as a consultant. When you deal with a player coming from the college basketball environment and maybe in his first experience in the European environment, which are the main obstacles, the main difficulties for that player? And from your perspective as an executive, as a scout, what are the main challenges in bringing a guy straight from college to a European team?
First of all, it's a big question with multiple answers that could be addressed and touched, talking about different point of views. Basketball is a big bag with many features, many different things. We have first, even before talking about the game, we have a difference of way of life that obviously is big between United States and what they call overseas, because overseas for them is everything. But
exactly,
we can find many different leagues, and I usually speak to the Americans, including players, young players, saying it's exactly like, since we're talking about NCAA, it's exactly like if I mention to you NCAA is a big market with many different levels, many different environments, and many different quality of basketball. Just talking about Division One, the same in Europe. We have different countries, different laws, different levels and quality of clubs. Not all the clubs are paying the due attention to the way the young players can adapt themselves to the life here in Europe, which is something that is crucial to me, because, you know, when you are a 20, 23, 25 years old guy and you move to the other side of the world, before talking about what you can find on the court, you gotta be sure that 100% of the typical things that a young guy needs are provided and sure and stable in his daily life. I'm talking about, it seems stupid and funny, but this is what it is, like accommodation, apartment, logistics, car, Wi-Fi. When I started 15 years ago, everybody asked for satellite. Now nobody cares about it. But to give you an example, there are still clubs that are writing on their contract, we provide a TV and a TV set. Who cares?
Yeah.
You need to be adjusted and be sure that the day that the guy is coming, your Wi-Fi in his apartment is already working, because it's fundamental as first approach.
Yeah.
This is just an example of adaptation to European life. Different food, different times. The weekly schedule can be strongly different from what they have in the States. And talking about the game, even if the game is more global, I think the differences between youth system in the States and European youth system, professional system are bigger than ever. I think the way the AAU work over last years, preparing the young kids to NCAA, and the short career up to now that usually the guys had in NCAA was not enough to prepare them to the difference of style of the game that can find here in Europe. The tactics, the X and O's, the way, even the rules, the FIBA rules are a big change to what they can find. So I mean, try to give a complete picture to young kids is something that we need to be sure to give them to, like a tool to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And since you mentioned, there's often this discussion about the fact that young players in Europe, they are prepared in a way better to become professionals, because when they're young, there is already a lot of focus on the teamwork, while in the US, there is criticism around the AAU system because there's too much focus on the individuals and there is not enough teamwork. So when the guys get to the next level, they are a little bit unprepared from that perspective. Do you think that for the US, it will be interesting to start thinking about something completely different in the preparation system to the college basketball, because you have many voices saying that the current AAU system is not preparing their kids in the proper way?
Yeah, this is a good point. I think that try to take out and eliminate the big sneakers brand, to be clear, is something impossible, simply impossible, because the business and the market is what it is. But I think the big brands that push AAU system can modify themselves, the system. Try to give some more quality, try to reduce probably the number of, I would say, unuseful game, and try to give another value to the practice, because I'm talking about team practice, because the habit, there is a big, huge difference between individual or even 2-3 guys workout and the real team practice. The rules are stricted, and I think the habit to see a 5-on-5 is not enough for a young kid, and makes him not real aware of details that you can find then overseas. And if you consider the big number of the young kids in the States need to be prepared not to G League or NBA, but to overseas career, because this is the place where they will play. I don't know exactly the number, but probably the stat says that around 70% of college-age kids go overseas. The rest is G League and some lucky guy NBA. But knowing more what they will face is something that could give the product itself a bigger value.
Mhm. And of course, when a guy comes from college to the European environment, to the European basketball, sometimes, of course, it takes a little while for him to settle down and to really be able to express his full potential. So I was curious to ask you, in your line of work, how important it is to start really scouting the player from his college days and then following his path, even in his first years in Europe, to really understand how much of potential there is there, and when is the right moment to fully develop his potential. Because sometimes we see, again, players that maybe explode at 26, 27 years old after they already been in Europe for a few years.
Yeah, you touch exactly in your words the right point. To me, is the momentum. Like the timing is not for everybody the same. Absolutely not, because the process is a personal process. Every kid, the maturation is different, way different. We can have late bloomers ready to play and explore the potential just when they are overseas. There are other guys that are already all set, I would say not in high school, but in their freshman year in college. So I love, and this is one of the real best things of scouting the way I do. I'm not obviously the only one, but after years, I find some satisfaction, I would say, starting to watch college basketball that is like a real ocean. Try to reduce the number of players that I wanna watch, because sometimes people ask me, how can you watch NCAA basketball? It's impossible to watch everything, but try to be focused on seniors and internationals, and try to see, just taking notes, not having big evaluation or something like a full point, but just taking notes and be ready to start to follow those guys. For example, in PIT tournament of the end of the season, this is a place where you, if you wanna be a scout, overseas scout, you have to be. Still now is one of the biggest event in the States, with a lot of scouts, way to watch live the players after games, watch on Synergy or on the web during the season. This is the first time when you see them. And you can find there, I've been in Portsmouth where when there was like Jimmy Butler, to the guy that after 2 years will be in the smaller league you can imagine in Europe. So, I mean, you can find everything there. And it's very exciting because you start to write with a more, proper distinction, like splitting the tire of guys. Is the moment where you start in real scouting. And then after PIT tournament, you have a bunch of events that you should need to attend to be more complete, even before they try to get to Europe, to know who they are, like Summer League for sure. But also, I'm talking about collateral events during Summer League, not just NBA Summer League. There are a lot of workouts, a lot of tournaments, a lot of small Summer League, usually in Las Vegas during the summer, where you can see talent of different levels. And then you start to watch them in Europe. But as long as you see games in Europe, you cannot forget to watch some G League too, because if you go to showcase, you will see somebody that had no chance, or he didn't choose to go to overseas right now, but he will be ready to get in Europe in 2 years. And you continue to collect info, intel, impression, writing notes. So I have a lot of examples of guys watching them since college, then G League, then overseas, and after their first or second years in Europe, you have already, for your perception, a complete picture. This is what is more exciting, one of the best way to scout. For example, one of the last example I have in my mind is CJ Massenburg. When we chose to sign him in Brescia, he was coming from France. Before France, strong impact with a great coach in France, Italian coach. Before that, he was in G League. I collect some info about him, and I watch him play in G League. Before G League, he was in Buffalo University. How was Buffalo University game? So try to recognize and remember and watch notes, what you wrote about, how did they play, the level of the team, the organization of the game. And step by step, you have the idea that the guy is ready. That's what is scouting for overseas team, in my opinion.
In your job, are there, especially from your experience, which are the specific traits that you always try to find in the play that you're scouting?
Interesting question. First, how they move on the court, like being ready to have some physical impact is something that I want to immediately see, and you can usually recognize it from the beginning. I don't want to say that if you have not a physical impact, you cannot play, but this is something that immediately give me the idea to split probably the direction of the level of the player, because if you're I'm not talking, I don't want to say you need to be a super athlete, like NBA or EuroLeague level athlete, but at least be ready to physical consistency, because this is what they will find in Europe, even at mid-level, So footwork, being ready to resist to contacts, to bumps, to battles in the paint, navigating through the screens with some consistency. This is what I want to see. Usually, then I try to see, which is something I'm paying attention more and more lately, is the way they can adapt their game, starting to pick up the ball less and less and less. Catch, swing, catch, go, and reading. Being quick to read the game. This is something that I think is more and more important. About the positions, when I started and I learned from veterans, scouts, I would say, or executive, the division, the splitting between roles and position was bigger. Now it's more about, and the website that you guys are doing is great in this sense. The way the players play is more important than where they will play. Like even trying to build in the team is the first two things they can do on the court. Give me the picture and the idea how they can be useful on the court. Then I will see where I can put them. but to me, the two main skills, the two main features, give me the idea of what they can give to the team.
Mhm. And Marco, of course, in the last few years in the NCAA basketball, we've been seeing kind of a revolution with the introduction of the NIL deals, and for the players, the possibility to really get paid and to use their own image to make money. And this is something that, of course, is changing the college basketball world, but it's starting to have a pretty serious impact also on the European basketball, because we've been seeing recently how many young European prospects decided to go to the US to play in the NCAA, and because these American colleges, they can offer very good money to these players, incredible infrastructures where they can work out and where they can improve as a player. How much do you think these NIL deals will have an impact on the European environment? Because it looks like even some of the biggest clubs in Europe, they are struggling to keep their young talents around nowadays.
Yeah, I think the big clubs, the powerhouses in Europe are struggling, and if you consider they are struggling, think about the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
So the landscape, to me, will be largely different in 2-3 years from now, and I think honestly that the clubs and even the kids themselves, the agents, the media, everybody in Europe is really underrating this change. To me, potentially is something that will change the game and the market, like at the beginning of the 90s, even if we were still kids, but we remember when there was the Bosman rule, coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that the change, the impact is something potentially similar. What I mean, as you say, when you have a kid who can play basketball, I'm not talking just about the elite 5-star recruitment kids, but a good kid that can play basketball, even at mid-average level. If you have as only solution in Europe to play in third, maybe if you're lucky, second division in whatever country, I'm not talking just about Italy, but the number of minutes is reduced at the beginning because you need time. If you're lucky, you will find a coach that doesn't feel the big pressure that usually he has on himself, so we give you the chance. But it's a long process. Usually, even if some of the best countries in Europe, unluckily not in Italy, they have the B team, the factory team, the farmer teams, like Germany, Spain, France, whatever. But there is no space for everybody. The lack of infrastructures is big. Even if there are some interesting exceptions. And if you put all of these and you put some money on the table for the kids, to be honest, there is no race. With all the facilities and even the attraction that the products can give to the kids, because the way the hype, the media, let's say circus surrounding the NCAA gives some good vibes to it. It's something unique. Sometimes it's even better than NBA, So everybody at some point, it will be like a wave. It's already starting to be like a wave, and everybody in Europe will ask, I'm talking about the kids, everybody will ask to their coach or their agent, hey, can you, instead of asking where I can play next season in Italy or in France or whatever, they are starting to ask, can you help me to try to find a good school, a good situation in NCAA college basketball? So I don't think even if the European Federation leagues will find an answer, I don't think it will even be helpful for at least the next 2, 3 years. Because even if they find the best way right now, tomorrow, the wave is already started, So
Mm-hmm.
I think we will see a lot of young guys going to the States. This could change partially the way they play back in the States. And we mentioned at the beginning the AAU struggling to find good quality. So I think for NCAA basketball could be a good mixture, mixing up of styles. But for European basketball could be dramatic. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we know we have good academies everywhere in Europe, also in Italy, but it's not enough to have already included, because there are too many kids that can play the game.
Yeah. And regarding what were you saying about European basketball, there's been now for a while, but is becoming more and more kind of a hot topic, the possibility for the NBA to get involved into the European basketball infrastructure. The idea that they are ready to invest in European basketball like they did in other continents, like they did in Africa, like they did in Asia. I was curious to ask you your opinion. Do you think that this is something that, I mean, there's no chance of stopping it, that at some point it will happen regardless?
I think usually when NBA moves, they make whatever they want first.
Mm-hmm.
This is the history that teach us this lesson, and they always do the proper steps, which makes them the best league probably in the world, to be stable, to be serious, to be well organized, to be business wise oriented. If we see what they did in Africa, even if nobody is still talking enough about the African League, BAL, I'm sure that in few years from now, it will be another important, crucial point of the market. And following that, the only market they have big in terms of followers and fan base is Europe. The only one market they didn't explore at the same level I'm talking about, but it's just this is what I'm saying. It's so big that it's a matter of time, and I think they are just trying to find the best way. The tradition in Europe is something that other continents don't have, and this is a big challenge for NBA. But I think we're talking about the product more than one time during this chat. The product, how it sells in Europe nowadays, we know also through EuroLeague experience is not enough. And I think a lot of people, not just NBA people, is not happy about this never-ending argument between FIBA and EuroLeague. So at some point, if EuroLeague won't find his deal, stability and improvement of the product with FIBA, of a big competition in Europe, I think NBA will come soon and they will do their own competition. And we know how strong they are. So it's just probably a matter of time. But I'm not sure it would be something bad. It's just probably try to find the best way to give our beloved basketball the best way to be watched, enjoyed, and played in Europe. This is what we need. We want, everybody of us want to have the bigger and stronger EuroLeague. You want to call it EuroLeague or whatever, but we will see how we will be calling 10 years from now. But everybody of us want to be a strong competition in Europe. So
Yeah. And as of course, as someone who works in European basketball and has worked for many teams in the past, this is something that I ask to pretty much all the guests that I had so far. What would be the suggestion that you would give to someone who's coming out of college and is about to make his first experience in European basketball? What would be the suggestion that you would give to them to have a proper career in Europe?
First, try to get the most that you can have about info talking about the country you're gonna go is the best. Like a real tourist guide, talking with other players that already are in Europe, about adaptation to new life, and try the sooner is better. Try to watch some European game. I'm not talking just about EuroLeague, but also some domestic league game. I think it's something that young kids, college kids, too rarely they do. So.
Yeah. And one final question for you. As Italians, of course, one of the issues that we have often in Italian basketball is that we have great talent at the youth level, but when they need to make that transition from the youth level to the professional level, that's where the problem is starting. That's where the issue resides often, because they don't have enough opportunities, and they are, as you mentioned before, they are forced to play in at a lower level, lower leagues, so they don't really get a chance often to have experience at a really good level. So I was curious to ask you, what do you think would be the changes that the Italian basketball system need to implement in order to try to limit this issue and helping the young players in this transition?
I think two things. We need a circuit of good farm teams. We need anyway, even if college will take the best kids in the next years, we need anyway the team B of our first league or even second league. We just need to try to copy what they did in France, Germany, and so ever. This is for sure one thing. With a free exchange of players, up, down, down, up, back and forth, which is a key, obviously. We need better. We need some investment in infrastructure, because we don't have gyms, neither in schools. It's dramatic. Like, I read the stats 2 days ago. I think 1 out of 3 schools in mid-level schools in Italy don't have a proper gym, which is order,
Yeah.
So we need some of our let's say owners more oriented to investment in the infrastructure than in the next Sunday game result. This is what we need.
Well, we reached the end of our newly appointment with Inside Magazine. We reached the end of our conversation with Marco. So first of all, I want to thank you again, Marco, for jumping on in.
Thanks to you. Thanks to everybody of you guys for the opportunity. It was very, very, very pleasant.
Thank you very much again to Marco, and to all our followers. We will see each other again for the next interview. We're gonna announce in the next few days which guests we'll have. And for the moment, thanks everyone, and goodbye.